So in this video, we will get into one of the prerequisites that you need to understand and master to, to prepare and clear AZ-104 certification from Azure. Azure provides various tools and components that you will need to create and manage infrastructure across Azure and related services. So we will get into details of what are the tools, various tools that are available in Azure to create and manage infrastructure at a scale. Why we need Azure tools? Now, when you're creating few resources in Azure for a learning purpose or for a very small application, you would be able to go into an Azure portal and manually create these resources. But imagine when you want to create or when you have to create these resources at scale, probably for a big organization, or repeat the task of creating the resources on a continuous basis for multiple applications or products. In that scenario, you will not be able to quickly create this infrastructure if you're going with a manual approach. Azure tools provide you to create these resources automatically using various scripting and templates that are available, and use scripting with the scripting knowledge that you have from PowerShell to Bash scripting, and use them to create reusable and manageable scripts that will automate your infrastructure across Azure. So we will look into what are these different tools that are available and when to use the same, and then in the future videos we will deep dive into each of those tools to understand in detail. So what are the different tools that are available for scripting and automating infrastructure in Azure? The first is the PowerShell. If you're coming from the Windows background and have some programming knowledge, you will be aware of PowerShell scripting or PowerShell programming. And if you're coming from this background, for you, creating and automating the infrastructure creation on Azure using PowerShell becomes easy. Then the Cloud Shell is the cloud version of Azure, wherein you can use the browser to run the commands and create the infrastructure. Azure CLI is a command line interface specifically built for Azure infrastructure automation and management. Azure Portal, as I said, you will be able to go and manually create these Azure resources using the Azure Portal. Now, when it comes to uh, authoring the infrastructure, so when we say authoring, I mean, how do you define the various parameters, various properties? How do you define what resources you will need to create, which are then invoked by the scripting tools mentioned above? There are two authoring templates or authoring components that Azure provides for you to create reusable templates to create similar resources across the subscription. The first is a ARM template. This is a JSON-based template wherein you would be able to create and define resources, use parameters and variables to create a script which you can now execute with different parameters, and then scale your infrastructure automation. The other is a newer Bicep. Bicep is a declarative language which is built to help you create declarative templates and scripting to automate your infrastructure uh, properties and templates, thereby execute these authoring templates through one of the scripting and automation languages to achieve the scalable and reusable infrastructure creation, management, and monitoring. Now, let's go into each of the different types of tools that are available and understand a bit more about the same. Azure Portal is a web-based portal wherein you can create, monitor, and manage resources with a user-friendly experience. This is best suited when you are new to Azure and trying to learn Azure services and not aware of the internal properties and resources that Azure provides. This is the best tool for you to begin to learn Azure. And if you're not looking for any repetitive task or any large scale deployment, this is the best tool for you to begin with. PowerShell is a scripting language that comes with every Windows system, or operating system, or a desktop or a laptop, and you would be able to use your PowerShell knowledge to run and build Azure commands by installing the Azure module into your PowerShell environment, and then use the commands to build uh, automated automation scripts. Is again easy when you want to build and learn Azure with a basic understanding what you have. You'll be able to build PowerShell scripts using the uh, uh, using the Windows knowledge. Now, Azure CLI is specifically built for Azure Cloud and Azure Infrastructure Authoring. But the main difference being this is a cross-platform CLI. You would be able to use the scripts that you develop using Azure CLI in Windows or Linux operating system. This is similar to the Bash scripting. If you're coming from the Linux world, Bash commands. If you're comfortable, Azure CLI is something you would be confident to use and learn. In one of the future videos, we'll understand the very basic command structure and how to learn these commands on Azure CLI. But Azure CLI is for you when you're part of uh, a Linux environment and you want to create and manage infrastructure on Azure. Finally, Cloud Shell is like a PowerShell or an Azure CLI, but this is built on the Azure portal to run these commands on an online-based shell. So you'll be able to create these directly from the portal, launch an Azure shell directly from the portal, and then execute your commands and PowerShell and CLI commands to create and monitor the resource. So depending on the need, depending on the purpose, you will have to choose one of these tools to create, monitor, and manage Azure resources.